The city was alive with noise, the blaring horns, chatter, and the distant wail of sirens blending into a chaotic symphony. I was walking down the cracked sidewalk, lost in my own thoughts, when something caught my eye. At first, I thought it was just another figure hunched over a pile of trash, rifling through cans and scraps like so many I had seen before. But something about her posture, the slow, deliberate movements, made my heart tighten in a way I hadn't felt in years. Before that shocking moment on the street, life with her had felt simple, even perfect, in small, quiet ways. I remembered the mornings filled with laughter over burnt toast, the nights when we stayed up talking about dreams we weren't sure we could reach, and the countless moments where her smile lit up the dullest days. She had this way of making even ordinary days feel extraordinary. But now, as I watched her hunched figure among the trash and cans, all those memories clashed violently with the reality in front of me. I couldn't help but go back to the beginning, to when we first met. She had been fiery, confident, and fiercely independent. She worked hard, saved diligently, and had plans that seemed unshakable. But even then, there were cracks I didn't notice, or perhaps ignored. I remembered her late nights, sitting at the kitchen table, quietly writing in her notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. At the time, I assumed it was just work, ambitions, or some hobby I didn't understand. Now, I wondered if she had been silently worrying, silently struggling, in ways she never shared. Our life together had its ups and downs, of course. Arguments over money, small misunderstandings, moments where pride got in the way of love, but nothing had prepared me for this. Nothing could have prepared me for the idea that the woman I had promised to support could fall so far without me even knowing. My mind raced as I tried to piece together the fragments of her story. How had it gone from laughter and warmth to scavenging cans in the street? What unseen battles had she been fighting? I remembered the signs I had overlooked. She had stopped inviting friends over, citing vague excuses about work or obligations. She had grown quieter over time, her usual energy replaced by a shadow of her former self. At the time, I had interpreted it as stress or a need for space. I hadn't realized it was the beginning of a downward spiral, a silent fight against forces she never wanted to burden me with. The guilt washed over me, heavier than I could bear. Could I have done something? Should I have noticed earlier? Every memory became sharper, every regret more pronounced. And yet, intertwined with the guilt, there was admiration. She had faced this storm silently, surviving in ways I could barely comprehend. I thought about the life she must have endured after we parted. A world that wasn't forgiving, people who could be cruel, doors closing one after another, leaving her with no choice but to fight for survival on her own terms. And now, here she was, standing well, crouched before me, a shadow of the vibrant woman I remembered, yet unbroken in a way that made my heart ache. The past and present collided in my chest. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew it wouldn't be simple. There were questions I didn't dare ask yet, and truths I feared hearing. And so I lingered, heart pounding, torn between reaching out and watching silently, knowing that whatever came next could change everything between us forever. I stepped closer, my shoes crunching on the scattered debris, my hands trembling more than I cared to admit. She looked up again, catching my movement, her eyes widening for a brief moment before she quickly lowered her gaze. There was a flicker of fear, embarrassment, and something else, something I couldn't yet name. I wanted to reach out, to say something comforting, but words failed me. I can't believe it's you, I finally managed. my voice barely above a whisper. My throat felt tight, and my heart pounded like a drum. She didn't respond immediately, only shuffled some cans, pretending not to hear me, though I knew she had. That was her armor, quiet endurance, a shield built from years of surviving without anyone's help. I didn't know. I had no idea it had come to this, I said, my voice cracking, as I struggled to reconcile the vibrant woman I knew with the one crouched in the filth before me. Her hands froze mid-motion, her shoulders stiffening. Then, slowly, she met my gaze. Her eyes were wet, rimmed with red, but there was a fierce strength there, a storm that had been brewing long before I returned. "You weren't supposed to see me like this," she said softly, almost like a confession, almost like a reproach. Her voice trembled, betraying the control she was trying to maintain. "I didn't want you to know how bad it got. Why? Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, desperation breaking through my disbelief. I wanted answers, but I was terrified of what they might be. I could have helped. I would have helped. She shook her head, almost violently. No, you wouldn't understand. I had to do this on my own." Her words hit me harder than I expected. There was pride in her tone, yes, but also a deep, painful sadness. I couldn't burden you. I couldn't ask you to carry what I was carrying. The intensity of her confession made the air between us heavy. I could feel the weight of every struggle she had endured, every sleepless night, every empty stomach, every moment of humiliation she must have faced alone. My chest tightened, my vision blurred slightly, and I realized the depth of her sacrifice, something I had never imagined, something I had never appreciated until now. I wanted to scream at the unfairness of it all, to demand why fate had led her here, but I also wanted to kneel beside her, hold her hand, and tell her it was okay, that I saw her. That I finally understood. And yet, as I opened my mouth, she took a step back, her eyes wary, almost defiant. There was more she wasn't saying, something deeper, something urgent. I need to tell you everything," she said quietly, her voice a whisper that somehow carried immense weight. "But you have to promise me. You have to listen without judging. You have to understand why I did this." Her words left me frozen, my mind racing. What could be so important that it had kept her in this life of hardship, silent and alone? What secret had she carried for so long? And more importantly, would I be able to bear the truth when she finally revealed it? I stood there, frozen, my heart hammering in my chest as she finally looked me in the eyes. There was a strange mix of vulnerability and defiance I had never seen before. The bustling city around us faded into a blur, leaving just the two of us in a bubble of tension and emotion. I waited, barely breathing, for her to speak. "I need you to understand," she began, her voice trembling but firm. "This wasn't just about survival. It was about protecting you." I blinked, confusion mingling with shock. "Protect me? From what?" She let out a shaky laugh, almost bitter. "From everything, from seeing me fall, from having to carry the burden of my mistakes, from watching me struggle and feeling helpless." Her hands trembled as she gestured to the street, the cans, the worn-out shoes. "Every night I spent out here, every moment I endured, it was to keep you safe from the pain of my life. I couldn't ask for your help. I couldn't drag you down with me." My chest tightened so much that it hurt to breathe. The realization hit me slowly, like a cold wave washing over every memory of our past. All the subtle signs I had missed, all the moments I thought were insignificant, they were her silent cries for me to understand, her attempts to shield me from a storm she endured alone. I can't believe it," I whispered, my voice breaking. You did all of this for me? She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. Yes, because even after everything, even after the mistakes, the heartbreak, the distance, I wanted you to know that I never stopped caring. I wanted to have you. Somehow, I thought if I endured it all quietly, one day we'd find our way back. The weight of her words hit me like a punch. I felt a mix of sorrow, guilt, and awe. Sorrow for what she had endured, guilt for not noticing sooner, and awe at the depth of her courage and love. I wanted to fall to my knees, to hold her, to apologize and beg her forgiveness for my blindness. And you didn't tell anyone? No one? I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. She shook her head. No one. I couldn't risk anyone interfering, judging, or making me feel weaker. This was my choice, my way of surviving, and my way of proving that my love for you was stronger than anything life threw at me. I swallowed hard, the world spinning around me. The woman before me, once vulnerable, now raw and powerful in her honesty, was revealing the kind of love and sacrifice that most people only read about in books. My mind raced with questions, but also with the intense desire to make things right, to bridge the gap that years of silence had carved between us. For the first time, I truly saw her, not just the woman I married, not just the ex-wife I had lost, but the fighter, the survivor, the person who had endured unimaginable hardship for love. And in that moment, I knew nothing would ever be the same. I opened my mouth to speak, but she placed a hand gently on my arm, stopping me. Her eyes glimmered with emotion I couldn't yet name. There's more, but you need to listen carefully. It's not just my suffering. It's what I did to protect us, and it might change everything you think you know about our past. I stared at her, my mind racing, my chest tight. Her words hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. There's more, she had said. I braced myself, unsure if I was ready for the truth, yet unable to look away. I could see the weight of her experiences pressed into every line of her face, the way her hands trembled ever so slightly as she reached for mine. It's not just that I survived on the streets, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. Yet each word struck me like lightning. It's that I hid something from you, something I thought you'd never forgive. I had to make sure you were safe from it, because I didn't want to lose you again. I swallowed hard, the air thick with tension. What is it? I asked, my voice cracking, my whole body leaning in, desperate for answers. She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with tears. When we separated, I lost everything. My job, my savings, even my apartment. People I trusted betrayed me. And there was someone who tried to ruin my life completely. Someone who wanted to take everything from me, including you, in a way I couldn't let happen. So I disappeared. I chose the streets, the hardship, because it kept you away from danger, from people who would have dragged you down too, and I endured it alone, just to protect you. I felt my knees weaken. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst. Every emotion collided, shock, disbelief, anger at the cruelty she endured, and a profound admiration for her strength. You did all of this? For me? I whispered, my voice trembling. She nodded, tears streaming freely now. Yes, because even after everything, even after the pain, I wanted to have you back. I wanted to show you that my love was stronger than any hardship, stronger than fear, stronger than the world itself. I fell to my knees before her, unable to contain the torrent of emotions. My hands held hers, feeling the calluses and roughness from her survival, and I realized how much I had taken for granted in our past life together. I had no idea, I said, my voice breaking. I never knew how strong you were, how much you sacrificed for me. She shook her head gently, a small, sad smile forming on her lips. You didn't need to know. I just hoped one day you would see me again and understand why I did it, why I endured everything just to protect us. The city around us faded into silence. For the first time in years, we weren't exes or strangers or victims of past mistakes. We were two people who had been through unimaginable hardship, who had endured separate storms, and were finally finding each other again. I pulled her close, holding her as tightly as I could, feeling the raw honesty, the love, and the pain radiating from her. I'm so sorry, I whispered into her hair. I should have noticed. I should have been there. But I promise I'll never let anything hurt you again. Her tears soaked my shirt, but her smile was radiant, now a mix of relief, love, and the fragile hope of a new beginning. In that moment, I realized that some sacrifices are too deep for words, that love isn't measured by comfort or ease, but by endurance, resilience, and the courage to protect those you care for, even when it costs you everything. And as we stood there, the world slowly returning around us, I knew that our story was far from over. But whatever came next, we would face it together, stronger, wiser, and united by the trials we had survived. And that was the moment I truly understood the depth of her love, the sacrifices she made, the pain she endured, all to protect me and to survive. Seeing her like that, knowing what she went through in silence, brought tears to my eyes. It's a reminder that love isn't always easy, and sometimes the strongest acts of care happen quietly, away from the spotlight. If you've ever wondered how far someone can go for the people they care about, this story is proof. Life can test us in unimaginable ways, but it's our resilience, courage, and love that define us. Thank you so much for watching this story. If it touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share where you're watching from, and subscribe for more incredible, emotional stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Stay tuned, more unbelievable stories are coming. As I drew closer, my stomach dropped. The face, the hair, the way she moved, it was her, my ex-wife. My mind refused to believe it at first. How could the woman I loved, the one I once promised to protect, be here, collecting cans, living like this? Her clothes were worn, stained, and torn in places, her shoes barely holding together. Her hands, once soft and gentle, were rough, smeared with dirt and grime, and yet there was a quiet determination in her, a strength that I remembered all too well. I froze, unsure if I should call out her name or turn and walk away, pretending I hadn't seen her. But the sight of her there, so vulnerable yet so proud, made my chest ache. I felt 1,000 emotions at once: shock, anger, sorrow, guilt. I wondered what had happened to her, what had pushed her to this point, and why I had never known. She didn't notice me at first, focused entirely on her scavenging, sorting through the scattered cans with methodical precision. And then, just as I was about to speak, she paused. She glanced up, and our eyes met. For a split second, the years melted away, and I saw the woman I had once loved staring back at me. But there was also a wall there, built from pain and survival, a barrier I had no idea how to cross. "Are you okay?" I finally managed to say, my voice shaking. She looked at me like she didn't know whether to cry, laugh, or run. "I'm fine," she said quietly, almost whispering, avoiding my gaze. but her voice carried the weight of everything she had endured. I wanted to scream at the injustice of it all, to demand answers, to shake her and make her tell me why she had ended up here. But I couldn't. I just stood there, frozen, watching the woman I once knew turn away and bend down to pick up another can. Every step I had taken toward her seemed insignificant now. The city moved around us indifferent, bustling, chaotic, but for me, time had stopped. My heart was hammering, my mind spinning, and yet I knew one thing for certain. I had to find out the truth. I couldn't leave without understanding why the woman I loved, the woman I once built a life with, was living like this. And so I took a deep breath, swallowed my fear, and took my first step toward her, not knowing if I was about to witness a revelation, a confession, or a heartbreak that would shatter me completely.